Hi everyone, it's Kute here. Today I want to talk about how to be spiritual. That's right. How to be spiritual. You know, there's so many books teaching about the 117 techniques to be spiritual, the 475 secret techniques to, be spiritual, and maybe if you wear these mala beads, you must be spiritual. It's funny because I was sitting with my friend, and he was telling me how it was amazing. He was saying, I met this girl, and wow, she does yoga, and she's a vegan, and she sleeps, her head in a certain direction, and she's done, sacred journeys in Peru, and she drinks the sacred herbs, and is into acupuncture, and he just went down this whole list, and he goes, she's amazing, and she's done 300 yoga retreats, and she's so spiritual. And it made me think, well, what is spiritual? What is spiritual, really? So as you listen to this, I ask you, what is spiritual to you? Is it having the mala beads and wearing the right yoga pants and doing the yoga poses and being able to stand on your head, and okay, you eat raw food, and all of that's great. Feng shui your life, it's great. But the question becomes, what is spiritual, and how do we live that in our day and age today? Because so much of what is spiritual is ideas, is concepts. See, I'm someone I grew up, some of you may know my story, but I grew up, my father, my first memories as a young boy was literally seeing, blind people seeing, deaf people hear. My first memory was literally seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor, picking up the sand this man walked on, wiping on her face and standing up. The sand who she picked up was my father. My father was walking, he didn't even know. My father was considered a revered spiritual, is still alive, and is considered a revered spiritual teacher in Ghana, West Africa, was the spiritual advisor and teacher and guru to 3 presidents, to 2 kings of Ghana, West Africa, a revered spiritual guy. So I grew up around this, you could say, spiritual environment, and my father had about 300 spiritual centers and churches in Ghana, 1 in London, and as a young kid, I was a very inquisitive child, and as a young kid, I'd go to church every Sunday. And it was amazing, these incredible folks would come to church, and they would pray, and they would meditate, and they would sing, and they would sing and Jesus, and they would sing and, have these seemingly enlightened experiences. And what was amazing as a young kid? I'd go out into the lobby, into the foyer of the church, or outside when church was over, and I'd sit and I'd hear them gossiping. Did you believe, they would say things like, could you believe what, so-and-so, what Marjorie was wearing, at church today? Can you believe about her husband? And all this gossip going around, and it made me think, like, they were just worshiping in church, and now they're gossiping. Something isn't quite adding up. So what is spiritual? Is it being able to recite the holy texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads? What is spiritual to you? I believe that spiritual is not a form. The spiritual is not a matter of the clothes you wear and the physical form, or your hand postures, or saying namaste in the right way, namaste. It's not about what you do, but ultimately it's a state of being. You can be wearing all the right clothes, the right rings, the right rubies, the right this, the right that, do the right yoga postures, but not be connected, truly anchored to the core of your own being, the pure consciousness that you are. See, so much of our world is conditioning us, programming us, hypnotizing us, distracting us, disconnecting us with noises and distractions that it's so easy to get wrapped up in the egoic identification of the form of the body, the identification with this is who I am. And if we are not careful, then spirituality can become another identity. You know, spirituality can become another fur coat. Spirituality can become another egoic identification of, you know, look how spiritual I am. I was someone that, you know, for many years as a young kid was so caught up in that spiritual identity. Can anyone else relate? It's like, look how much I can meditate. Look how spiritual I am. I'm better than that person because I'm, you know, because I eat, you know, I'm a vegetarian since I was 13. Well, spirituality is the connection to your own freedom inside. Real spirituality is not in the form. It can express in different ways. You know, it could be someone who has no hair, has long hair, has a beard, sleeps to the south. It's the state of your consciousness and your beingness. And where you are rested at within yourself, your own inner identification. When you are identified with your name, your form, your ego structure, these things on the outside, then you could say you are not truly being spiritual, even though you might be doing spiritual in the world. Doing spiritual is not necessarily spiritual, just being is spiritual. When you are connected to the source of who you are, where you know that this form, this name, this body, none of this is who you are, is a transitory cloak that houses in this lifetime your soul, your beingness, your consciousness, that there is a living, breathing, animating life force, energy, consciousness that is functioning you and all of existence, that there is no separation between you and the terrorist and the president and the poorest person and the playboy model and the banker and the homeless guy and you know, the whole range, when you are able to know that you are one with everything. That's what you are. That beingness, that breath that is beating your heart, that is beating all of existence. And you live that. You are pure spirit. And at that level, you can't not be spiritual as you acknowledge that what you are is beyond this body, because this body will die, everything is transitory, that what you are is pure spirit. And spirit is a life force. Spirit is birthless and deathless. When you know that that's what you are spirit. You are living that. To live that fully in the world is to be spiritual. That it's not just about concepts, but I believe it's also, as a young boy who grew up seeing so many people talk the game of spirituality when they come to my father's church. You know, it was so amusing, so loving in church, but as they went into their lives, I didn't see how people were living so-called spirituality in their lives. They weren't living it. They were reciting the text in my father's church, and I was standing next to them, and they sounded so great. You know, they were reciting these holy texts, and they would go out and speak so unholy. So I believe that part of spirituality is how you live your life. Not just when you do yoga, not just in the temple, not just at church on a Sunday, not just at study on a Wednesday, but how do you live your life moment to moment to moment to moment to moment with a constant acknowledgement of what it is that is actually living you, that there is a spirit that is living you. So you're living in tune and acknowledgement with the force of life that's living you. You could say is to be connected to spirit, is to live your spirituality. So how do you live your life? Because I believe that concepts and ideas must be translated into, are you loving or are you not? That every single moment of your life, every single person in your life, every single situation in your life, every single experience in your life, good, bad, up, down, black, white, every single second of your life is a spiritual moment, that you don't have to go to the Himalayas, you don't have to meditate in a cave for 14 years, you don't even have to go to a 14-day meditation thing. All you have to do is go and see if you can love in traffic on the 405 in Los Angeles. See if you can love that guy in the DMV line. You know, see how much light you can bring and channel down as you walk down the street in your downtown area. See how you treat that homeless person, because that homeless person is an expression of the Christ, of the Buddha, of pure consciousness as well. How do you live your life? Because from that standpoint of knowing who you are and living that, are you loving fully or are you not? Then you could almost say, spirituality, how do you be spiritual? The whole question dissolves. How can you not be spiritual? And the whole separation from this is spiritual and that's not spiritual, this is spiritual, it starts dissolving, and you start living your spirituality as radical love, outrageous love in the world. Life is challenging, there is pain. And you can either respond with collapse, you can either respond with fear, or you can look fear in the eyes, you can look life in the eyes and recognize that life itself is giving you and I, is giving you the opportunity to exercise your spiritual muscle and step into life fully and love. Anyone can do it in the Himalayas, looking over the Himalayas. Anyone can do it in Tibet and Thailand, but can you do it in the marketplace? Can you do it with your critics? Can you do it with your naysayers and your haters? Can you do it with your mother-in-law? Can you do it with your parents? Can you do it with your ex? Because everyone is a manifestation of the divine. Every single second of your life, amazing friends, is an opportunity to live your spiritual practice. And as you do that, your prayer never stops. As you do that, your meditation never stops. As you do that, your yoga never stops. It's the yoga of moment-to-moment loving. Are you ready to live your spirituality now and now and now? I love you wherever you are. Go out and live it. Go out and love it. And if you enjoyed this video, I invite you to sign up for my blog, subscribe, and I'll be sending you inspirational information on a weekly basis. Let's stay in tune, let's stay in touch. I love you, love now.